Hello, friends. Welcome to another edition of the Women at Pelham Road. I'm joined today by Suzanne Hasty. Suzanne was the first chairperson of the deacons that was a woman. And so we've invited her to answer a few questions and to be sitting on the hot seat for a few minutes. Good afternoon to you, Suzanne.
Good afternoon.
All right. Your first question. Tell me about the people who have influenced and shaped your life.
Well, I was fortunate enough to be raised in a village of good Christian caregivers. I give credit first off to my mother and her diligence in her prayers to make sure that that village was there, and I know she prayed God's protection around me daily, which happened, and I was blind to a lot of things going on in my world, I think, as a credit to my mother's prayers.
Okay.
So with that, I give her a lot of that credit.
Okay.
I was raised in a church that was a Southern Baptist church, but it was progressive for the time frame of my life, 60s, 70s, 80s. And it's a church that I was taken to as a child. I don't know when did dedications. If they did, I don't remember it. I graduated from high school there. I was involved in a very active youth group there. I was married in that church. And I went back to that church for the going home services for my parents. So it was a church that shaped me.
Okay.
They were progressive enough in the 70s that they did have a female youth minister. Now, she was not seminary trained. She was a college student who came back and gave 110% of herself through the summers to make sure that we were very service-minded, giving, look for ways that we could make a difference in our church community, in the community as a whole, how we could give and how we could do things. And so she really reached out to a lot of places that we as teenagers thought nothing of, and learned about, and learned how we could make a difference. We did several mission trips, Glorieta, Ridgecrest, New Mexico, various things like that. But she was very hands-on and really, really cared about the teenagers in our church. And I think Karen Montgomery probably did a lot of shaping of me and gave me a lot of inspiration of ways that I could mimic some of the things she did.
Well, good. All right. Now, shout out to the church, too. What was the name of the church?
It was Southside Baptist in Fort Smith, Arkansas.
All right. So how have you seen the role of women in the church change in your lifetime? Now, we know you're still a young lady, but in your lifetime, how much has it changed?
Well, I've wrestled with that question. I think that the church maybe has a better understanding of grace. And I'd like to think that's not true, but I guess from my perspective, I think, and maybe that's just me growing up and seeing things from a different perspective also. But I do think that the church has a better eye for grace and for reaching across the divide. One of the things I really struggled with growing up that led me to what I'm going to answer here in just a second was the church I grew up in was Southern Baptist. And I sat on that pew when we passed those crazy plates asking for mission money for Lottie Moon and Annie Armstrong. And I was a pretty obedient, well-mannered child, but I did wrestle with and even confronted several times, why are we collecting money in these ladies' names if we don't let women do the things that we're collecting the money to do? So I think that we have progressed farther into allowing that to happen than what we used to. We don't now just do it in the financial sense. I think now we do it in the true spirit.
Right. Okay, good enough. Now, what are some of the roles you've done here at Pelham Road I told him you've been chairperson of the deacons, but you've done other things. What are some of them?
Done other things. We got here in 91, and since 91, that's 1991, not 1891.
That's right.
I have taught Sunday school, Wednesday night classes, Sunday night classes, vacation Bible school. I've been on the Wednesday night meal team. I'm on the training meal team, choir, handbells, several search committees, a building committee, long-range planning committee, deacons. Coordinate a lot of mission trips and service projects and fundraisers. Yes.
Yeah. Suzanne, you served on all three committees: the committee that brought me, the committee that brought Sam, and the committee that brought Wes into this church. So you had your fingerprints are all over the staff.
That's true, and I think we did a really good job and meshed three great personalities together at different times that seemed to work out well.
Hey, Suzanne, I just listened to you go through all the things that you've done at Pelham Road, and you haven't lied. You did all those. But there's one glaring oversight. Do you know what that is?
I do know what that is, and it's something that's very dear to my heart. Working with the youth for many a years, many a blessings, just a lot of wonderful memories that I will never.
What year did you start working with youth?
It wasn't long after we came. Well, I stopped in 2010, and it was around 16 years. So if we backed all that way up, yeah, that's about where it was.
And from my perspective, Suzanne was, as a called youth minister, the way she served. It wasn't just a lay person doing it. She was called to do it. You want to tell a Ryan Tucker story?
Oh my.
Well,
let me just tell you, Ryan Tucker, if you're going somewhere with Ryan and you're taking a bag lunch, make sure you staple the top of it, or he will take a bite out of everybody's sandwich. And he has a full meal by the time he's gone through 20 sandwiches, but everybody's only missing one bite. So, staple your bag and put it in the box for refrigeration, but know that if it's opened, it's been touched by Ryan.
And Ryan grew up to be a great young man, didn't he?
He absolutely is a great young man. I knew that it was going to happen, and a lot of prayers from a lot of people.
But you did a great work there.
Ryan.
This is the question: how has Pelham Road changed from 1991 until today, while you've been attending?
We have realized that a person can accept Christ in their own way, at their own church, or the church they grew up in prior to coming to Pelham Road, in whatever denomination, Christian denomination that was. And that they don't have to be rebaptized. They can choose to. And that always bothered me. And how did we decide that what their decision was before wasn't a valid decision? Why does it have to be our flavor to make it valid? And the fact that we've done away with that gave me huge celebration.
That's right. And a very positive change. How has Christianity or the local church or your local church experience changed in your lifetime? The earlier question was about how has the role of women changed in your lifetime? How has the congregations changed?
Well, I think that maybe we have learned we need to love the sinner, not the sin. And maybe we have learned that casting stones or standing on street corners shouting whatever we think is what we believe, maybe that really doesn't draw others in. Maybe we've learned that ministering through our actions is a better tool or avenue than a lot of things we say. Although what we say can undo our actions,
right.
No doubt. But I think maybe we have finally learned that actions speak louder than words. And minister everything you do. And of course, if you have to use words, and I know somebody else said that, but I don't know who it was. Billy Graham, maybe? I don't know.
Well, watching you do youth ministry for so many years, you were all about serving. It was about using your hands. Those kids didn't learn to judge other people. They didn't learn to draw a line in the sand and say, well, you're unacceptable to God. What they learned was that God called me to serve. My hands and feet are God's, and they belong to God, and I will go and do good work with those. And in turn, the people that we served were touched, inspired, transformed, changed. So that's a great role model, that it is a kinder, gentler Christianity. All right? Final question, your exit question. How do you want to be remembered, Suzanne Hasty?
Well.
By us, not your children or your husband or your daughter-in-laws, but by...
Well, I was going to say, start off with all the obvious. As a Christian Southern woman, a good devoted wife, mom, mother-in-law, yah-yah, friend, all that good stuff. But as others might remember me, I want to be remembered as an encourager, a good role model, a person that offered grace, a doer, a person with a servant's heart, maybe a person with a willing spirit to walk, to reach across the void, to bring in those that have a need.
Mm-hmm.
So just that willing servant's heart, I guess, is what it really comes down to.
Well, I think that is the perfect way that you will be remembered, if I have anything to do about it. Now, you're the only interview I'm doing. The others are being done by Ashley. But I'll close with this little story that illustrates what you just said. Years ago, we had a basketball team here, and it was a true team I believe Trey was on, and Trey is Suzanne's oldest son. But it had a group of kids in it that were really needy, troubled kids. And Suzanne would spend, I guess we played on Monday nights, is that what we played? She would spend her Monday afternoons going around and finding these kids, because oftentimes they didn't stay at the same house. And so she'd round them all up, and she was this positive influence on them, and you illustrated what you just talked about. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening to us. See you next time.